Will the market go up or down? Should you lock in or float? Find out this and more with Master of the Markets, hosted by Barry Habib of MBS Highway. Brought to you by Paramount Residential Mortgage Group.
Welcome to another edition of Master of the Markets. I'm Barry Habib, and MBS Highway is created exclusively for NMP TV, and it's brought to you by our good friends at PRMG, who are working for your best interest. A lot of housing data this week coming up, along with some inflation data, so it should be interesting. But last week we did get existing home sales. That was an important report to get, and it's very misunderstood. The median home price rose 17%, so people saying that's appreciation. It's not. It's just a mix of homes. There is very little inventory on the lower end and a lot more inventory, comparatively speaking, of more expensive homes to pick from. So because there isn't that much to choose from on the lower end, there's fewer sales. That skews the median home price up to almost $330,000. That's a big number. That's up 17% from last year. Now, actual appreciation is up 10%, still pretty robust. And this is where people do get confused, though, because they say it's not affordable. Now, wages on a weekly basis are going up 7%. And while it's not quite 10%, it can more than handle the differential because you don't use all of your income to make your housing expense. You use a fraction of it. So as long as interest rates stay about the same, and according to the MBA last week, rates right now are about 0.25% cheaper than what they were last year. This is a very affordable market, believe it or not, if you can get a home, certainly. One of the big issues, of course, is can you go out there and find a home without having to bid too much over asking price in many cases, right? Over 40% of those. We have a tool in MBS Highway that helps you evaluate that. It's been a lifesaver for people. It's our bid over ask tool. We'll tell you at what point in time in the future the value of the home will then eclipse what you're paying for it. This is what people want to know. Is it going to be 3 months, 5 months down the road? Or is it going to be 6 years down the road? Help them make a better decision on buying. There's no tool like it. You should look into it. Now, this week is going to have some housing data as well. We're going to see actual appreciation. This is where we're going to be looking at is 10% appreciation moving even hotter towards 11%. We think the year-over-year number for 2021 will be about 8% appreciation. So we think that this housing market is very, very strong. Now, the amount of sales declined a little bit, but that's simply, again, because of a lack of inventory. We feel that the housing market, as I mentioned, is going to be something that if you can get in the game, not saying that it's easy, is something that will pay dividends, at least for the next couple of years. We don't see, there's a lot of people saying that the sky's about to fall. We don't see that, at least for the next couple of years. Look, the further out you go, right, it's difficult to anticipate what might happen. And one of those things did occur last week that certainly shook the stock market, shook the cryptocurrency world, and that was Biden's plan to increase the capital gains tax rather significantly. Now, it still has to be fleshed out. We'll get more details on that this week, but that's going to be a market mover this week because we had John Walden on a Facebook Live on MBS Highway, and he really cut through it pretty well. He said that if you're in the Democratic Party and you want to pass this tax hike, you really have to do it in 2021 because in 2022 with the midterm elections, probably don't want to be pushing that agenda at that point in time. And there is always the possibility that during midterm elections that many of the parties in power will lose some seats. Don't have to lose that many seats to then lose the ability to perhaps push some of this stuff through in the way that they'd like it to be. So this is obviously a political game that's going back and forth, but the markets are going to respond to it. Now, what John Walden also said was that it would be very unwise, his words, and the guy's brilliant, to have a tax increase while we're still seeing an economy that's trying to gain its footing and potentially considered still in a recession or at least near that, trying to kind of gain traction towards moving in a positive direction. So he feels that if they do pass this, that the target to enact it might be in 2023. So I thought that was very interesting, in which case you could see a rally in stocks at the expense of bonds. So we'll be following this closely on MBS Highway as we do with rates every day. Yields on the 10-year below 160, that's a good thing. Their trading range now is 137 to 160. But any kind of news that could rattle the bond market and push yields above 160, the next stop from there is 175. So a very volatile time. You should follow it on MBS Highway. Talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
Be sure to click on the link below for your free 30-day MBS Highway trial.